This is the beginner's guide on how to turn this into this with a whetstone. There are thousands of videos and articles on this, and each one of them has their special technique on how to achieve 100% sharpness, which is just not necessary. But they all agree on how to get about 90% of the way there. It doesn't need to be much sharper than that. And that's what I'm going to show you. Now, before you can even think of playing with the knife, you have to select the correct whetstone. So how do you do that? Whetstones are classified by their grit, which gives you an idea of the size of the abrasive particles on the surface of the whetstone. Larger particles give you a lower grit number as you can fit less of them in a given area. And just like sandpaper, stones with larger abrasive particles are going to remove more material from the surface on the knife, but they're going to leave a rougher surface. So the idea is you start with a lower grit stone to form the general shape of the edge, and then you move on to a higher grit stone to polish the edges. Now I've got this pretty handy starter kit stone, which has both a medium grit and a fine grit. And it's worked pretty well for me so far. So now you've got your stone, so it's time to start polishing, right? Wrong! Before you even start, there are two things you need to focus on to be successful, and that is the angle of the knife on the stone and the pressure you're applying to the knife when it's on the stone. In general, the angle of your knife's edge will be around 20 degrees, but there are some slight variations. So the easiest way I've found is to rest your knife on the stone and slowly raise it until you feel the edge is flush with the stone. Ralph said I should slide my finger across the blade, and now I'm in hospital. Obviously, be gentle with your fingers and please be careful. Now, if you're still not sure you've got the right angle, you can draw Sharpie onto the edge of the knife. And when you're sharpening, only the Sharpie on the edge of the knife should be removed. And if that's not the case, you're holding your knife at the wrong angle. So adjust accordingly. The second thing you have to focus on is the pressure you're applying to the knife. Now you should be applying about 4 to 5 pounds of force on your knife. If you don't know what that feels like, just grab a scale and practice pushing down around 4 to 5 pounds. So now you've got your stone and you know what to do with the knife. Surely now it's time to sharpen the blade. Actually, yes, it is this time. Your stone needs to be saturated in water so that the knife can glide over it smoothly. So put the stone in water and wait for all the air bubbles to get out of the stone. This should take about 5 minutes. Now this is where the fun really starts. So the idea is you only applying pressure to the blade when you're dragging it away from the knife's edge. So on this side, you're pressure, then release, then pressure, then release, and then same thing on the other side. This time the blade's in the other direction, so I'm applying pressure, then releasing, then applying pressure, and then releasing. And just doing that over and over. That's the easy part. The hard part is consistency, because remember, you have to have the right angle and the right pressure to be successful. Now the trick I've found for this is to have each hand focus on one thing. So the hand that's holding the handle is only focusing on the angle of the blade. So all it's doing is this the whole time. It's not applying any pressure. And so the other hand focuses on the pressure. You're not grabbing the knife to try and play with the angle. All it does is it pushes down on the knife on the downstrokes and then releases and then pushes down again. Now obviously this is going to take a little practice, so start slowly and don't beat yourself up if you don't get it right the first time, because I sure know I didn't. So you're happily sharpening your knife, but how do you know when to stop? So what you're trying to create is a burr along the whole edge of the knife. Now, a burr is just a thin layer of metal that pushes up when you're sharpening on the other side. Now, if you gently run your finger across the blade, your finger should catch on the burr. And again, please be careful with this. Although, you don't need all your fingers to like this video. And once you feel the burr along the whole edge of the knife, you know it's time to switch over and repeat the whole process on the other side. Once you're done, you can move onto your finer grit stone if you have one and repeat the whole process. But to be honest, if you only have a 1000 grit stone, that'll make your knife more than sharp enough. But you will still have the burr on one of the edges of your knife. So to remove the burr, you're actually just going to do the same thing over again, but for a shorter time and with less pressure on the knife. You can just do this until you can't feel the burr anymore. And now it's finally time to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So grab a piece of paper and your knife should cleanly cut through it. But don't stress out if you don't get it on the first try. I know I definitely had to re-sharpen the knife a few times and go through quite a lot of paper to get my first clean cut. And once you're done, make sure to clean your knife, because stainless steel is not a recommended food group. And now that your knife's sharp, you're going to want to know how to keep it that way. And this is the job of the honing knife. So while you're cutting, some of the fibers of the edge will start being misaligned. And when you run a honing knife over your blade, it realigns these fibers into a nice sharp edge. And you're probably wondering, why couldn't I just use a honing knife from the beginning? Because a honing knife can fix this, which is a sharp edge with just some of the fibers that are out of alignment. But it can't fix this, which is what a dull blade looks like. So you use a whetstone to sharpen your knife and use a honing knife to keep your knife sharp longer. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, you can help me by subscribing. Anyways, that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!